Communication 101, which is how to get the answers that you need. Now, communication is a true science. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of us know the words rapport, and we know how to build rapport. And what I was always taught in business school was, you do your research on the person you're going to meet with, and you research them on social media. You find out who they are. Do they have kids? What are they like? You also look in their office when you're meeting with them. Can you find certain things on the wall and find commonality? Really, what business school was teaching me, and all my professors were teaching me, was commonality. They were not teaching me how to build rapport. Rapport is actually scientifically built, and it comes from mirroring and matching the tone of voice, the speed of the voice, the language that they use. Building rapport it's a true psychological state that you can be in and out of very quickly. So the one example I want to give you is I see this meme, or I see these TikToks or these reels all the time, and it's like guys become best friends because of just like the stupidest things. And it could be a guy walks into a room, sees another guy wearing a striped shirt. They're both wearing stripes, and they're like, dude, stripes, awesome. And they're like, well, we're best friends now, right? Well, you're not, but you just found a little bit of commonality, and then, guys just strike up a conversation. All that is, again, is commonality. That's not building rapport. So again, like I said, building rapport is scientific, and mirroring and matching what they say, how they say it. So if they use the terms, let's say inspection, and they call it a due diligence period, I'm going to probably start calling it a due diligence period. Just those minor changes matches their language patterns. Like me, I like to talk with my hands a lot. I probably will match a seller that likes to talk with their hands a lot. And if they just are sitting there like this, then I will match that body language as well. I'll match a lot of the things that they're doing physically and physiologically, using their words. So then we have the option of what I call addition by subtraction. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys over the past probably year or two have come into quite a few situations. If you've ever input an offer on an MLS property, or if you've ever just come across any seller that's off market, a lot of times we run into multiple offer scenarios. And what happens is, especially if it's an agent or if it's a savvy seller, they will not give a lot of information. So in one of the case studies that I'll go through a little bit later, we come in contact with a property that has multiple offers on it, and an agent says, no, I'm not going to give you any information about those other offers. Okay, that's totally fine. I can use addition by subtraction, and I can ask questions like, well, what is not in those other offers that you or your seller would like to see? Now, I'm not asking them to tell me anything about that offer. I'm just asking them what's missing from the other offers. All right, so I'll say that again. What is not in the other offers that your seller would like to see? That has given us more information in many situations than any other question, especially when there's multiple offers. And then I always like to ask, what else, right? So if I'm going to ask, well, what's the most important factor when you're selling? And they'll say price. Then I will ask, what else? And what else? And what else? And what else? And I will probably ask that like 3 or 4 times, because most of the time they haven't even thought of the answer to that question. It's just kind of a flippant answer, like, yeah, price is most important, whatever, keep going. So asking what else just creates a little bit of pause in their mind, and they now have to start to think about additional things that truly matter to them in the course of selling. And then I'll ask, is there even any room for negotiation? Because a lot of times we will waste time trying to be the right solution when there's not even any room for negotiation. And oftentimes this is where I say the coaches and mentors and things that are out there who are teaching you guys one specific strategy of this is the way to lock up so many deals. All that is a tool in your tool belt. It's not necessarily the one way. You don't need to go buy every single property using subject to or seller financing, or you don't need to buy every single property using the Burr method or certain things like that. Okay. So we need to know if there's even any room for negotiating. So when a seller says, my target price is 400,000, what I will ask them is, okay, is that 400,000 firm, or is there any wiggle room at all? I don't need to go into specifics, but I just need them to know, can I get my foot in the door, right? They need to tell me, is there even just the slightest crack to get my foot in the door? Who is leading and who is pacing? This is something to write down for sure. Leading and pacing is who holds the power and who's basically leading someone by the hand in the negotiation. So I had a student one time who told me, that he got off the phone with sellers and jumped right in the car and went over to their property because he liked to see it, feel it, touch it, and then determine his repair estimate and go from there. And I asked him, I said, okay, so how do you know, like, when do you decide when it's a deal or not? And he said, well, I go out to the property, I get my repair estimate done. Then I come back and I run the numbers. I do my desktop analysis. I said, okay, so then at that point, then you're deciding whether or not it's a deal. And he said, well, yeah, I mean, I'm submitting an offer, but sometimes the sellers just, we're not even in the same ballpark. So I asked him, how much time are you wasting? So I don't know, 2-3 hours to drive out there, drive back after I did the walkthrough, and then run my numbers, probably 2-3 hours. And I asked him, I said, what if you just did 20 minutes of a deal analysis or desktop analysis right away, gave them a preliminary ballpark range, and then if that was even in the neighborhood of their criteria, then you went out and checked the property. And that's who's leading and who's pacing, right? If you get off the phone with a seller the first time you talk to them and you jump in the car and go out to the property, they are leading you, right? You are basically the dog. They are walking you, and you are not leading the conversation as the professional. And then I want you guys all to remind yourself that it's okay to be selfish, right? This is a word or a phrase I like to use, selfish. And we have to focus on us first as business owners and the professionals here, because we are in this business to make money. We're in this business to stay in business. And it is an incredibly freeing feeling when you can tell a seller, hey, I'm not the right solution for you, but here's the right solution, and just refer them out. And maybe that took 20 minutes as opposed to 3 hours or 10 hours trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So I want you guys to remember that, like, we in our business model has to come first. We want to help sellers, but also we're in this business as professionals. So I want you guys to go through these questions really quickly, and then I'm going to share with you how I changed this. Now, you'll see on the right side the NLP version. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and that's where I've done a ton of my training in communications. And then I've got a few certifications over there. And on the left side, it's how we were initially taught. So this is just kind of to reframe your conversations with sellers. And this is going to be a new way to ask those same questions, but get different answers. So why are you selling the property? Okay, this is a common example. This is probably the number one question that every coach or mentor tells you to ask. Why are you selling? Instead, ask them, why is now the right time to sell your property? Similar question, but what you're doing is changing the answer because you're asking a slightly different question. So now the answer you're going to get is going to be more along the lines of the reasons that they are talking themselves into for now being the right time to sell the property. They're also going to give you a lot more motivation, and out of this answer, you're going to get a lot more clues to their motivation as opposed to just, why are you selling the property? And then, do you have a specific time that you want to sell? Okay. this is a lot of people, they just don't know, right? The sellers, they don't know most things in a real estate transaction. So if you ask them, well, yeah, I want to sell right away. Okay. And then we go submit an offer and we say, all right, we can close in 7 days. And they're like, whoa, that's a little quick. I don't know if I can be out of the house that fast, or, I have tenants for the next month. Okay. So different. When do you need to sell the property, right? When do you need to sell the property? And then this one is probably my favorite change is, first off, what we're taught is, what are you looking to sell for? And then our follow-up is, if we can close in that time frame, what price would you need to be at? Okay. Those questions, again, what are you looking to sell for? Most of our sellers, they haven't done any research. So they're just naming a price that they, maybe they saw 3 houses down, could be 1,000 square feet bigger. And they're like, yeah, I want to sell for that much. Well, okay. We don't even want to ask them that because we don't want them to put that out in the conversation and start from there. So instead, how much do you need to net from the sale of your property? Oftentimes, they've not thought about the math this way. This also gets into their motivation. So if they say, well, I need to net $50,000, okay, what for? Then again, it leads right into their motivation and their problems that they're facing so that we can then craft an offer that adequately provides their solutions. All right. And then this one, there's no real connection to this question that anybody that I know has been teaching. And this question is awesome. So when you think about selling your property currently, has it been going like it should? What's missing? We know that the answer to that question, when you think about selling your property currently, has it been going like it should? The answer to that is most often going to be no. Otherwise, they would have sold the property already, right? So then what's missing? They're going to tell you, well, it could be this or this or this or this, right? During the whole transaction, or other offers they've received, or maybe they were working with a realtor and they just didn't like having to pay commissions, or it could be any number of things that they answer. But this question will blow the boundaries on their thought process and get them to see a whole new side to the real estate transaction.